All right, so today is July 11th, Saturday, and it's a lovely day out there. And today on Get to Know a Music Person, I am joined by Jordan Leden. How's it going, Jordan? I should give you some volume. Just one sec. I didn't unmute you. There you go. Now you have volume.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, so how are you doing? How's things? How's life?
Oh, it's I'm good, man. It's busy. I'm happy to see the sunshine, and I'm very blessed and thankful to be working and to be doing as well as I am and as well as we are over here. So,
Well, and I mean that's the thing, right? With everything going on, it's kind of a blessing to have a job these days. And hey, I mean to talk about the weather too. I mean to work out, you're working outside these days, right?
oh, I love it.
And it's not raining every day this summer.
Yeah, hard here, but you know.
So for those of you who don't know, Jordan Leden is a guitar player local to Camrose, Alberta. He plays in a whole schwack load of stuff, including Sawbones, Big Smoke Revival, the Bailey Buckaroos. Jessie Bird is a new thing you're doing too. What else? Did I miss anything?
Well, I just and I'm very happy to say that I just joined Godfrey Blaque,
Okay, yeah, right. That's right.
and yeah, they asked me to come to a couple of practices and actually fill in. And when they did their leap year dance at the Bailey Theater a few months back, and so I played guitar for them. And what a fantastic bunch of guys! And I'm so delighted to be playing guitar with the group just because of their history here.
Well, and you're kind of the youngin' of that group because they've been around forever.
Oh man, I think well, Dave was telling me they started in I think it was 1968.
I just, yeah,
Might have
sounds
been
fun.
even before then, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know that they've been active since the late 60s.
Yeah. And so that, I mean that's before you were born, right? That's like
I'm an 80s baby.
do you let them know that every time? It's like, yeah.
I'm sure I do in my behaviors.
All right, so let's get into that then. So what are your origins? Like when did you get into music?
Well, I like if the farthest back that I can think about here now, just from when I was a little guy on the farm, there was always guitars around because my dad played guitar and he played in a kind of a rodeo country and western band called the Border Patrol, and then I remember always asking him stories about the band because I thought it was really cool to play guitar in a band, you know what I mean? But that was before I was. I mean, I never saw them. I was too little, but there's always guitars around, and so I started playing guitar. Actually, I wanted to play drums first. I would build, a drum set out of like pots and pans,
Right.
and all that stuff. And then I
Every
wanted.
little kid wants to play drums.
Well, I my older sister had a Guns N' Roses music video on tape that was in between like some Barney episodes or something, and it was Paradise City. It was the Paradise City
Right.
music video, and I can remember that. I mean, I was a little guy. I don't know, I must have been like 6 or 7 years old, and
Okay.
thinking, wow, I just remember the drummer smashing this one of the cymbals and like it panning to the cymbal going like this, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I wanted, you know, and so I wanted to be a drummer, but then I remember I must have been. I think I was 11 years old or something. I was like in grade 5 or something, and I was riding home on the school bus, and House of the Rising Sun by the Animals came on the radio, and I'd never actually heard the Animals House of the Rising Sun. I'd never heard it before, but I'd only ever heard my dad play it on the guitar. That's how I knew the song. I'd never heard the
Right.
song, and I heard it on the radio, and all of a sudden, it's like this big moment in me where I'm like, I just envision myself playing the drums, but on the guitar,
Fair enough.
like smashing along to the beat of the song, but on the guitar. It was the first time I saw this in my mind's eye.
Well, that's
And
Dave Grohl, right? Like that's how he plays guitars. He envisions it as a drum set, and then
yeah,
he plays guitar like that.
oh man, it's absolutely surreal stuff. Yeah, and so that wrecked me. I mean, that was it.
Well, that can't wreck you. That's like, that got you where you're going, right? Like, that's how you got into guitar. Going with drums, that would have wrecked you probably.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're hearing, because honestly, me being a drummer, there's times like I have to make sure I'm wearing this when I'm playing acoustic drums or something, because it hurts. Like, after you've been playing for a while without anything over your ears or in your ears, it hurts.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Oh, for sure.
the way you maybe crank your amp, though, it might hurt your ears too. I don't know.
I've got hearing damage, man, from machinery, working on the farm, and guns, lots and lots of firearms. Irresponsible when I was growing up, you know.
Right.
So I've got hearing damage from before I even got into the loud music. So it's not.
Well, and I mean, that's the important thing, right? Like, you don't really think about it until you're like, oh, why can't I hear that anymore? Like,
Oh,
why?
yeah.
So,
If anyone's watching, please protect your ears. You only get
yeah.
two.
Yeah, if you there's things like headphones can be extremely dangerous when, like, some of the volumes I'm walking along and I'm hearing somebody on their headphones. I can hear what they're listening to clearly. I'm like, how can that be healthy for your ears?
Oh, yeah.
But I know my ride cymbal makes my ear ring for a while. And so you went from being wanting to do drums, but then you ended up with guitar. Is kind of inspiration of House of the Rising Sun sort of thing.
That's what
Yeah.
was the first like moment where I'm like, I want to play guitar, because like I said, I always thought drums were cool, and they are cool. But it was just that one moment, man, that pivotal moment. House of the Rising Sun. I could just see myself playing the guitar, and then that was it. I got home on the from school that day, and I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to play guitar." You know, so he set me up with his Telecaster, and he had a tape, like an instructional VHS, and I can't for the life of me remember. You know, I would love to find that tape, man, because I remember I sat down and I watched and I learned all my basic open chords. You know, this guy was showing us on the tape, and I learned like C and G7, and you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Danny Gatton tape, although I wish it was, because that would be a way cooler story. But anyway, so I just ran with it, man. And then I got playing guitar for a couple years on my own. My dad showed me some things, and then I got guitar lessons from somebody named Corey Miller in Frontier, and absolutely tremendous guitar player. He got me into chicken picking and that country style. That basically it's like a banjo technique for the guitar, and that's how I got started.
Okay. And so where are you from originally then?
Frontier, Saskatchewan.
So does anyone, I mean, people, if you're on chat, you can ask questions too. Where is that located? Like, where in Saskatchewan is that? I know nothing.
So if you know where Swift Current is,
Yeah.
Frontier is, I'm thinking it's about 2 hours south of there.
Okay.
Yeah. So my family farm is down in that area. We're right on the Montana border.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Southwestern Saskatchewan. Yeah. It's beautiful. So.
Nice. And so what was your first guitar then? What was your first guitar?
Oh, well, I guess I started on my dad's Telecaster, but my first guitar that I bought with my own money was actually a Yamaha Pacifica.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, this just shows you the logic of a 12-year-old, you know. No offense to any 12-year-old. Really, like, for me, you know, 12-year-old me, you know, I went from this beautiful Telecaster that it was my dad's. I was just like learning on it, and then I'm like, oh man, here's this shiny black Yamaha Pacifica guitar, you know. So I bought it, and you know, for my chore money or whatever, and played it for a few years, and then I went back to my dad's Tele when I realized how much better of a guitar it is.
Yeah, my first guitar that I bought myself was a Yamaha RGX. So yeah, you know, it's not much more interesting than that, but it's, you know, they're fine guitars. It's just
this is nothing like I love anything from Japan. I absolutely love. This is a Yamaha, and this is my favorite guitar. My favorite acoustic guitar.
Okay.
It's a 1966 Yamaha FG160 Black Label.
Okay.
And it's just tremendous. You know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you find the right instrument, like,
Yeah.
you know, you'll be happy with it. There, and that's one thing though I think is with experience, then you get to know like how to feel guitar, how to like what it's supposed to sound like to you at least, what it should sound like. You get to learn the difficulties, like your fingers get stronger, and you get to know like, oh, this guitar is garbage, or you know, you're cutting yourself on frets or something like that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, as you get experience. So, so did you go back to your dad's Telecaster and then just leave the Pacifica behind? You're just like,
I ended up giving it to a cousin of
okay,
mine. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
um,
And,
yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah. So yeah, I just went back to my dad's Telly, and then I actually ordered a Stratocaster over eBay.
Okay,
I still have. It's right now. It's in the hands of a good friend and luthier friend of mine. He's redoing it all for me. I'm just waiting. Someday I'll get it back and it'll be all facelifted and be done. And you know.
well, but from what I understand, you're a Telecaster guy, right? Like
Oh,
you're,
I love Tellys.
yeah, like because what? Okay, then this might be, I don't know how informative this will be watching, but like say let's just go with Stratocaster and Telecaster. Why do you like one versus the other?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because it might be informative. Like I've talked to drummers about tuning, and people don't understand why drummers have to tune. But I think this is a thing. Like you go into a store and you see like so many shapes of like, oh, that's all Stratocasters or that's all Telecasters. Like why is one better than the other? Or why do you prefer one to the other?
Well, I mean, I played a Strat mainly in the Big Smoke band for 6 years, and
Right.
and that was a Stratocaster I played. But I think just because that particular guitar, um, it's not here right now. It's over at the other place. But um, that particular guitar just did everything I wanted it to do, because like the Big Smoke band is always, it was always fun. Like we'd do country stuff and rock and roll stuff and blues stuff and
Right.
weird stuff and whatever, and I just love that Strat. Like, it just kind of, it was zero maintenance guitar. Leave it outside in the rain at a pig roast, take it camping, kind of guitar, and
Right.
and I wish I had it to show you because it is beat up, man, and I just love that thing. But also because a lot of my, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Hendrix, and those guys always plays a Strat, so I just
Right.
love the cool factor of a Stratocaster and the diversity.
Right.
But
It's one of the-
with the oh, sorry.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say with Stratocaster, they're often like, they have like a Telecaster is usually a fixed bridge, versus Stratocaster sometimes usually has the springs and stuff in the back, so you get a bit of a different noise out of that, right? Like the acoustically, you have that noise there, and then so you don't have a fixed bridge too, so you can do a bit of wah. The one thing I find, it has a bit more like when you throw distortion on it, it has a different growl. Like it definitely has like a different sound to it. The way the pickups are configured. What's yours? 3 single coil pickups?
In the Strat is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're the Tex-Mex hot wound pickups in that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's got a neat sound. It bites and it does all the things you want a Strat to do.
All right.
But you're right. It's having that floating bridge. I think it makes it feel a little different, maybe sound a little different.
Well, and this is me also being Jordan knows a lot more about guitars than I do. I just pretend I do. So, like Jordan knows his stuff. He can you could probably rant about guitars all day. I'm guessing you could find a guitar and be like,
yeah, you bet. Well, to a point. I'm I like Strats and Tellys, and I like Martin acoustics and
Right.
Yamaha acoustics. This one's awesome. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, like I said, the Strat's awesome. The Telly, the reason I like a Telly is because it's so simple.
yeah,
A Strat's got more bells and whistles on it. Came out after the Telly. It was more of that like 1950s space age futuristic kind of thing. I think that Leo was going after, and so the Telecaster is just more simple. There's less to it, and
Right.
that's kind of my mantra when it comes to all things. I like there to be less to go wrong.
you press one button and it works, sort of thing. Be like, perfect.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I mean? So, it's like I don't know. It's like anything. Like my truck is the bare minimum. Nothing is automatic except for the transmission.
Yeah.
But like crank windows, I'll go for that any day. Just because I like the simple factor, there's less to go wrong with it. Manual all the way. And that's what I like about a Telecaster. It's very simple. Just a board with some strings.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, I totally know. That makes sense. That's, I mean, that's usually, have higher quality things like but you've gotten really into them the past few years, right? Like you picked up what was that signature one you picked up? That sparkly one.
Oh yeah.
What's that one?
Let me grab it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's the fancy, I don't remember what it's called.
There it is.
Yeah, what is that one? That is I can't remember. What's the signature? Whose is that? Like,
this is the Brad Paisley signature.
Brad Paisley, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that your main one that you play now, or what's
It has been. It turned into that. Yeah.
Because you also have, what is it? You stripped the paint on the other one, right? Like you stripped the finish.
That's that Stratocaster I was telling you.
Oh, that's the one. Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah. But not the Big Smoke one, but the one I bought on eBay. That's
okay.
That,
Oh, that's that one.
all the finish.
Okay. How many guitars do you run these days?
Oh man. Well, I think I own 1, 2. Yeah, I've got 2 Telecasters, 2 Stratocasters. This acoustic, the Yamaha. I've got 2 Fender Resonators.
Hey,
that's off the top of my head right now.
There's some somewhere else maybe, but
yeah, there's guitars kicking around, but this is my main one right now, and it just happened that way. I kind of bought this guitar for fun because it's sparkly and neat.
Yeah.
But also because I'm a huge Brad Paisley fan. I love Brad Paisley.
Okay.
And so I thought it'd be fun to have one of his guitars. And anyway, but it just turns out that it's amazing. It's everything that I want in a Telecaster.
Right. Oh yeah.
The neck. I don't know if you can really.
Yeah, I mean, is it the fatter neck then?
Yeah, really big neck on this thing. It just fills your palm.
Yeah, the one thing, this is one thing I don't like about SGs is I find their necks are so thin a lot of the time that I pull, like, they go out of tune so easily if I'm getting too intense with them. I don't know, SGs are just, their neck is so thin. And I actually, the Fender Strat I have back there, the deluxe player I have there, I like that neck. It's fatter. It's like, because I have longer fingers, it just makes sense to have a bit more. I don't know. It's more comfortable.
Does, yeah, I like, because I also started on this guitar back here, and this has got a really big clubby neck on it.
Yeah.
So I'm partially used to it, but also I like the feel. I like to have a big lumbery neck.
Yeah.
And to an extent, I think it may add to the resonance. At least it feels like it does. I'm sure people listening couldn't tell, but
No, and that's the funny thing. Like, this is why I like to talk about it, is because, like, people don't understand. Like, looking at the guitar you're holding, it has a maple fretboard versus the one behind you is rosewood, right? And so people would be like, I don't know, they're just different colors. But it's like, there's a difference. There's definitely a difference of sound quality that people might not understand unless you've played for a while. And the feel, too. I find I do like maple necks, but I don't know. Like, there's something about rosewood that, again, it's something that depends on the guitar sometimes, but I do like playing on maple necks these days. And
absolutely.
Without like a finish, like sometimes with the shiny gloss, I don't like that as much as kind of the natural. Is that the shiny?
Absolutely. And see, now that finish you're talking about, I do this on all my guitars.
Yeah.
You can see that, but I sand necks down at the back.
Yeah.
Because it makes it I sand it right down to the maple, and it makes it so much smoother to play.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it feels like, if you have any sort of moisture, like sweat or anything on your hand, and you move it, like squeaks, and I like having a bare neck.
Yeah, it gives it that cool, cute kind of or baseball bat feel.
Yeah. So I want to go back though. How did you come to Camrose? Like, what made you come to Camrose from Frontier, Saskatchewan?
Well, that's interesting. I wasn't, when I was in high school, we had a tremendous youth group, and I got to tell you, man, like if I hope that there's still awesome youth groups like that because, I had a great youth group, great youth leader. Um, anyway, so of course, growing up in southern Saskatchewan, we went to church, and so with youth group, uh, we came to Camrose one time for the CLBI Welcome Weekend,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
which is their like way to recruit new students. And man, I had a blast, and I must have been in grade 11 or something, maybe grade 10. And then and I, of course, I didn't know what to do when I graduated. I'm like, well, I don't really want to work at the factory here in town. I guess I could work for Dad on the farm, but I kind of want to, go experience the world. So I thought, man, CLBI would be great. So I went there. Went to CLBI in Camrose. That's the Lutheran Bible Institute.
Right, yeah.
And so I did 2 years there, and I just kind of stuck around. I went back home to work for a bit. Well, it's finally happening, Steve.
I mean, it's been happening for, I think, 2020 so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was through. So you came here through CLBI, and you did. How many years did you do there?
I did 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
2007 to 2009.
Okay.
And it was great. It was really good. I learned a lot of cool things, made some good friends, and then after, like I said, after that, I moved. Well, I went back to Frontier to work, build up some funds, and then I moved back. Had some odd jobs, and then I went on the road playing guitar with Jill Hagen.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in her band for a year, I think, maybe a little more. We went all kinds of places, and it was awesome. Looking back, there was some really great memories, and it was a cool chapter. Learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, learned a lot. And then it came to kind of time that I'm like, okay, I gotta work. I gotta work. So I actually got hired at Music Center Canada.
Right. Yeah.
They had just hired a guitar teacher there, and he just so happened to know me, and he didn't know how to teach guitar. And I think he did like one day, and he calls me up. He's like, Jordan, I can't do this job. Can you do this job? So I'm not like leaving buddy high and dry. And I was just like, I remember I went outside, I was like, yes, I got a job teaching guitar. This is my dream come true, man. And it was so awesome. So I taught at Music Center for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
And yeah.
And so Jill Hagen, actually, that was she was in my sister's wedding party. My older sister. Yeah, they were best friends. My older sister Melanie and her were best friends in like high school and stuff, I think. I mean, if my sister watches this, she can correct me on that. But yeah. And so I know her pretty well through things, the family and stuff. Who was in that band? It was you, Nathan Lebrecq?
Yeah.
And who else was there?
John McEwen.
John McEwen, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you guys were also like the solid rock players too, like the worship team thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I played guitar in that worship band too for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of neat. And also too, I think just as I joined the band, good friend Terry Prokopchuk was also I think in sound.
Okay. Yeah.
But then he had left and I can't remember, but we ended up all being roommates.
Right.
Yeah. It was just a really cool time, it was a really cool time. I think I was 23 or something, or 24, 23. And all of us that were with Jill and with Solid Rock at the time, we all kind of ended up just living together, and some of those guys, like, I lived with for 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was really cool.
And so it was kind of like CLBI brought you here, and you just kind of stuck around with the music once the music started going, like teaching and touring and all that
It's
stuff. It just kind of,
it's been nothing but opportunities.
yeah,
I mean, I can't believe how lucky I am, man. Like it's just been one thing after another. It never stops. It's
yeah.
just like, yeah, I haven't been bored in 20 years.
Well, I feel like I'm bored now, but
Times are we're in strange times. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, well, let me ask about that too. Like, because you used to gig like all the time. You were gigging quite a bit, like,
Yeah.
with all the different groups, and now that it's like where live shows are kind of in space somewhere, trying to figure out what's going to happen now. As far as I understand.
Yeah.
Some settings, it's like I know the Bailey did a show just recently, but their maximum capacity is like 50 people or something. Like they can't have more than that in there, and it's so
Yeah.
yeah. And it wasn't even like a music show; it was like a movie they did or something, premiere or something like that. I think that was on Thursday.
I think it's great that they're doing their best,
And everyone is, and I'm
yeah,
hoping and
yeah,
praying
everyone is.
that like some of these things can keep going. It's restaurants are having a hard time, and live venues. I don't know what's your take on that though.
Oh well, that's yeah, that's quite the. Uh, I hope. I think all I can really voice is what I hope.
Yeah, that's all we can do.
I would go. I would go back to that I actually know zero. And I know nothing. I know nothing. And when it comes to viral stuff and when it comes to policies and politics, I know nothing.
Hey,
But
do you know what? That's a huge thing though. Like, that's the first step to realizing that you don't like not. I don't think many people know things, but they try to think they do. And it's like no, like there's a lot we don't know.
I think a lot of people have been made into like, or made themselves into, or developed themselves into this authoritarian way of thinking when it comes to everything. And my take is that I know zero. I don't know anything.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
And I stick to that because everything I hear is different.
yeah.
Everyone has a different.
Well, and yeah, like
You know,
part of it is like I don't like to get into too much politics here, but the big thing is I don't think they're because of what you just said. Yeah, it's true because we can find out information. Say COVID's the biggest thing right now because you can find some information today that'll change tomorrow, and it's like, okay, apparently change tomorrow and then change the next day. When you talking to teachers, like educational teachers, anything, like in school, there's stuff they're planning, but a lot of it sounds like it's a maybe. It isn't like yes, we're doing this or no, we're not doing it. They don't know. Like the switch could get flicked and then it doesn't happen.
yeah.
So it's
To anybody watching right now, when you get a minute, put on the Wizard of Oz. Just put on the Wizard of Oz, and let's just think about what we can learn from the Wizard of Oz and all this. But but
I mean,
I think it always goes back to the old saying. See, now I forget it. Of course, believe none of what you hear and believe half what you see.
yeah.
And I think I tend to go there. And I think when it comes to live music and having pig roasts and whatever get-togethers, I think eventually people are just gonna, because I don't know. I just go with what I see with my own two eyes.
Yeah. Well,
and
and I do understand that people have to, like, as a business, you have to cover yourself, right? Like, you don't want to host something and then get fined or something like that. But I
That's
do,
right.
on the flip, I understand, like, here, like, rural communities aren't that bad, as badly affected. We haven't had any cases for a long time. We still have to be careful with whatever happens. But, like, Edmonton, Calgary, some of these bigger places are definitely at risk. And I wouldn't want to be the person to get sick and, like, spread it. Like, that'd be terrible. That'd be horrible. But again, understanding that, you have to watch yourself, and we try to adhere to the rules, but sometimes it's painful. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing, and I'm sure you have too, just like, because I think you mentioned you had a rehearsal or something, but you know, we're trying to be careful, but we do, like, I've done a few jams and stuff just in my garage just to like get some music on, because it's as much as, you know, it's fun to have an audience, it's more fun to just play with people, in my brain at least. I don't care if
Oh,
there's an audience or not.
yeah, yeah, and I don't know. I think like I love the internet. I love technology, although I don't understand it. I'm not a technology guy at school. I'd rather call than text.
Right.
But I love technology. I think it's amazing. But you can't live there.
Right.
And I think that there's a lot of, it just seems that society is going towards that, and with all these things, like you were saying, you can't live there, and I mean you can, but I don't want that existence. I'm not going to have that existence. No way, no how. I got to be face to face. I got to do stuff in person. If I'm having lunch, my phone is not on the table.
That's a good. There's a rule, folks. Make sure you don't, like, if you get a text, you can look at it, but don't, like, if it's an emergency, you don't want to leave somebody hanging. But you can look at it, but don't, like, there's etiquette, right?
Oh yeah, and I mean, of course, there's so much uses, but what I'm saying is, like, with this whole thing that we find ourselves in right now, it just seems like, oh, everything's got to be online, everything's got to. That's good and cute for that's good, but like, you can't sustain life that way. I don't think.
No.
And I think everyone's getting sick, but I'm getting sick.
Well, and I mean, you look at some situations, like, I live by myself, so it's like, you have to, I don't care. I mean, I care. I go out, but I still interact with people, I think it's necessary. But some of these communities, like some of the bigger, crazier places like New York or whatever, man, that many people who they're trying to, like, you try to keep a bunch of people separated in a community like that. Whew. But yeah, I think the problem right now, like, we try to be online, but there's a few limitations, right? Like something like this, you can't play a live band on Zoom or whatever, because there's latency and it doesn't work. And also I find there's the communication barrier, right? With little kids, even if you're teaching online, it's almost like a distraction, them looking at the phone. Like that interaction isn't there. They might just think you're a TV show. So, and then of course, like, here's my social comment where it's like people hide behind their profiles on the internet when they want to comment and insult people. They don't, you insult somebody at a bar, you'll get into a fist fight. Insult somebody on the internet, nothing happens. Like, it's just, nothing happens. Now these days people get doxxed or whatever, and they get banned, and so
yeah, it's made everyone into an authoritarian. It's weird, man.
It's crazy. Like you said though, it's sometimes hard to tell what to believe when everyone's a media source these days, and you don't know what's true and what isn't. So we could delve into conspiracies, but I think that's probably not a good thing to do right now. I have tons of them right now. With some, varying degrees of, like, how relevant I think it would actually be. But let's get back into music. So let's just go back to there. So I want to talk about your musical inspirations then. Like, what you talked about House of the Rising Sun, but before that it was Paradise City for drums. And I mean, that's a sweet track for drums. Like, if you want to play drums with a track, that's a track to play with. But what kind of bands and artists and even mentors, like, who have been your, like, what drove you to get to where you are today, I guess, and what inspires you?
Well, there's a lot of inspiration through the years, and it seems to always change. I'm always looking for new stuff, but the basics for me are bands like the Allman Brothers.
Yeah.
Absolutely love the Allman Brothers. Always have. Yes, and Black Sabbath was an early one.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny because you got Black Sabbath and Allman Brothers, which are kind of like it kind of put them.
They're pretty different. Yeah, we've got a lot of really contrasting bands that I love. But also a lot of classic country stuff, man, like Waylon Jennings, George Jones, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is like, I look at him like a grandpa or something. Like, he's just, so that old country, all of it, Merle Haggard,
Yeah.
yeah. So musically, it's all over the place. But I've had a lot of good friends show me things along the way.
Right.
Uh, all kinds of, like, my first guitar teacher I was telling you, I learned a lot from him, Corey. So if you're watching, Corey, I owe you a whole lot, man. Because he got me onto a lot of stuff, and like Danny Gatton, George Moody, different guys like that. So, but also probably the most important inspiration for me was my grandpa, Albert
Okay.
Leden. Yeah, he played harmonica, and didn't talk too much, but he loved to play music, and so we played a lot of music together, me and my grandpa, and it was a lot of that old bluegrass stuff, and a lot of old hymns.
Okay.
And he'd just be like, well, okay, I guess we're an F, because he'd look at his harmonica. Okay, we're an F. So okay, so, and I didn't really know, so by playing, and he would just play his melody, and then I'd have to, like, kind of figure out, like, at the time I didn't know what 1-4-5 was, but I knew what it was, because I'm like, oh, G, C, D go together, F,
Right.
B flat, C go together. I knew that, but I didn't understand exactly how it worked and everything, but I knew enough to think, okay, you're an F here, you're 3 chords, and I just listened to his melody, and okay, I can see that melody is lifting. I'm going to go to the 4 chord. Oh, that didn't work. That was a 5 chord, or whatever, and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So just by playing with my grandpa, I think I really learned how to listen, and how to follow a melody. I'm still learning how to do that, but I think at that age it was pretty big for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's I think the importance of playing, again, going back to playing with others. It's really important to. It's another form of communication, music. So it's like, if you hear somebody doing something, you follow what they're doing and see where it goes. I think that's really important. And as a learning aspect, it's like you can hear the chord change as the melody moves and make those changes. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, did your dad play too? Your dad played, right? Too. Your dad played. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. You bet. Yeah, and I mean, he's been out of it for a long time. But I mean, I know, like, back in the day, there, like, he would show me some licks on the guitar, and mostly country stuff and some rock and roll stuff. But yeah, absolutely. My grandpa got me onto like Hank Williams and Ralph Stanley and Chet Atkins and stuff like that, and just as far as a musical trajectory, like, that was the most important thing for me.
Yeah. So you'd say you're more of like a country person then overall, or what's like, because you've mentioned, like, before in our conversations and things like that, like Black Sabbath was like a huge thing for you.
Yeah.
But like that's where it's kind of like in my head, I'm like, Black Sabbath, and then you're mentioning all these like hardcore country things, and I'm like, it's hard to. So you just pick up one guitar and you're like, here we go, Waylon Jennings for a bit, and then you switch over to like some, I don't know, Iron Man or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I love all that stuff, man. Yeah, absolutely. I one's just as important to me as the other, and it's I mean, I know I must have been 13 or 14, but I'm like, Mom, can I get I want a Guitar World subscription, a Guitar World magazine subscription, because I think I can't even remember how I even learned about Guitar World magazine. I think I saw one time at a gas station when we were coming back from somewhere, and I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. It was at Cypress Hills, and we were coming home and stopped at the gas station, and I saw this Guitar World magazine. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, because I just started playing guitar not that long ago, and it was actually Ozzy Osbourne and Zakk Wylde on the cover, and so I brought it home, and I'm like, Mom, I got to subscribe to this magazine. So I did. Nice. And that was a wealth of learning about all kinds of artists and all kinds of cool stuff, man.
So were you one of those kids, like, whenever they got like a new magazine, it was just like you destroy it, you'd like take it all in and just read
Oh,
articles 500 times.
Oh, yeah, I read them a lot, but I always kept real good.
Oh, did you?
On my books, I'm
Okay.
still like that. My books got to stay nice.
Do you still have all those magazines then?
I give a bunch to some of my nephews. Like
Okay.
I got 2 or 3 nephews and a couple of nieces that play guitar now. So
Okay.
a lot of that stuff went to them. But I still got a bunch. I had a huge stack.
Nice. Yeah. So I just want to bring it into something else. So who plays with you in? And I want to talk about a member of the Big Smoke, but who plays with you in Big Smoke Revival?
Currently, it is myself and Jeff Nybeck, brother Jeff.
Yeah.
And we just got brother Kevin Bekovich to take over bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also with the Sawbones band.
Okay.
So Kevin will be playing bass in Sawbones as well.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because I wanted to talk about.
Sorry, real quick, and Jessica too. Jessica Dosty. She's
Okay.
also in Big Smoke. She's singing and playing rhythm guitar.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I wanted to just talk about your previous bass player. I've been mentioning him on stream before, but for those who didn't know, do you want, since you've been friends with him for longer than I have, so do you want to talk about it or?
Oh, yeah. So our dear friend and brother Darwin had a pretty devastating stroke. And he played bass in the Big Smoke band, and in Sawbones it was me, Jeff, and Darwin. Originally it was me and Jeff and Darwin were the Big Smoke band. And we have been together like we started in 2012.
Yeah.
At the Players Club because they needed a band.
Yeah.
When it was the Players Club.
Man, weren't they going to try to reopen that at one point?
I don't know. Yeah, and so that's what's that? 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years.
8 years ago. So 8 years, man. We played together in a lot of gigs. I wish I would have. Like, I kept track of a lot of it, but I know I didn't keep track of all of it, and I don't know how many gigs we did in a year or collectively. I wish there was a way to find out because we played.
You guys have played together a lot.
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots.
Like, you did the Willows and stuff like that. You did Jaywalkers. You guys were playing all over too, like Kill 'Em and things like that. Like, you guys. Yeah. So there is. Oh, I should put that in the description. I didn't. But there is, like, currently there's GoFundMe. If people want to help support Darwin and his family, because he is making some, like, it sounds positive right now.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Like, that's the sounds right now. Like, it is. There were some tough times going on, but it sounds like he's in a point of things are okay now. Like, he's.
Yeah. I mean, our brother is still with us, and it doesn't matter. He's he's got a lot of people praying for him. He's doing well. I think he's got a lot of his cognitive function back.
Right. And that's huge. Yeah. I mean, it was just, I remember, like, when being in Martha's, like, seeing him every day. He was like the solid, like, the guy who you couldn't, his emotions were just, like, straight. And he's a bass player is what I say. Just kept it solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to go talking about Martha's. You taught there too, right? Like, you taught 6 there. 6 years. Okay. I was trying. Because you went MCC and then you taught there, and then you've been. Okay. I'm trying to keep track of everything. But yeah, so you could annoy Darwin as much as you wanted when you were working there, I guess. But yeah, like, do we know, like, is he going to be moving back to town then eventually, or is he? Because right now he's in Edmonton, I think, right?
Well, he got brought back to the Camrose Hospital.
Oh, did he? Okay.
But he's going to be sent back to Glenrose.
Okay.
I believe in Edmonton for more intense rehabilitation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
after that, I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, again, if you are listening, there is a GoFundMe. I'll make sure I put it in the description for those live or for those who watch this video later. So you can donate there to help him and his family. And pray for him and all those things. Yeah. So I want to talk about teaching since you are a teacher. We're going to get to
Hey.
that. So you started like, it was just kind of a, hey, you're teaching now? Like you mentioned the guy at MCC, whoever's teaching before you was like,
Okay.
hey, Jordan, do you want to teach? And that was like,
Right.
okay.
Well, now I had taught some in high school.
Okay.
If I remember right, I think there was 3 students that I had.
Okay.
You know, nothing too crazy, just
Right.
you know, on the side, you know, and I had done that a bit. You know, and then I hadn't really taught much. You know, I just, like I said, worked and went to CLBI, and
Right.
of course, you know, you always like through the years you show, you show people like, oh, you want to learn a G chord, or here you go, or whatever. You know, you show people things
Right.
here and there, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, when I started at Music Center, it was kind of fluke, and I learned, like, I just kind of got tossed in the fire because I was all of a sudden I was having, you know, I think at that time I must have had 40 students.
Yeah.
My first year, first couple years, because I remember they were both just like, I was just slammed, you know.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot. It was a pressure cooker, you know, environment of you got to teach people how to play guitar, and you know what? I still, well, I say still, but up until September, October, when did this whole thing start? April?
In March is when Martha's got shut down.
Okay, so up until March, I've even had some of students that started with me at Music Center.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a really wild journey, man. But yeah, learned a whole lot, and then I switched over to Martha's, because our dear friend Alana, if you're watching, hi Alana, I love you, and thanks for everything over the years. You know, she hired me. She wanted me to teach guitar, so I thought, man, this is awesome. I love Martha's. I'll take it. So I had a wonderful 6 years there, and I have honestly zero complaints, and it was really good. Learned a lot there.
Yeah.
In those 6 years. So
yeah, definitely. I think there's especially if you're into a specific genre, like say you're just pure country, and then there's a kid who wants, hey, I want to learn jazz fusion, and you're like, I got to teach you jazz fusion, which would be, I'd be like, no, you're not learning jazz fusion ever, because that's silly.
Well, I'd probably send it to Steve.
No, I'd be like, jazz fusion is dumb. You're going to learn regular jazz. Seriously, I can't watch jazz fusion for too long. It just makes my head explode. But yeah, it's just like there's those times that it just, there's those little bits that as a teacher, you're growing by the little pushes. It's like, oh, can I learn this? It's like, I guess. Yeah. Why would you want to learn? But there's those little pushes though throughout the time. Like you just don't expect a student maybe to want to do something. So, and when they ask you to, you're like, oh, I guess we can do that. Sure.
It's never, that's one thing, man. Like I find with teaching is it's never monotonous. It's never like, it's always new, and
yeah.
I shouldn't say that. Sometimes it feels like you're pulling teeth, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's always rewarding for me. You know, I never dread a day of teaching guitar.
Well, and how I usually put it is if you're doing half-hour sessions or whatever, every half hour is a new experience, because I mean, as much as, and sometimes it's like you're pushing to get through that half hour, but most of the time it's just like, it's a new experience. If it's a slog, sometimes it's half hour, you're fine. But for the most part, I haven't had many issues with, you know, having to yell at students or anything. I don't yell. I'm not a yeller. If they don't want to learn, that's fine.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the one story I always think of is the one I think I gave you, the student when we were working at Martha's at the same time, where he would just walk around the store the whole time. Like he'd leave the room to go do, and he'd just disappear. And I'm like, okay. But it's what?
You know, I that's the one thing about, you know, with, because I think there's always going to be, you know, you get the kid where the parents kind of wants them to go, maybe more than they want to be there, and that's fine. I think that's good, you know. But you know, you get all kinds of funny instances, and like, oh well,
Yeah.
I always took it as a little practice opportunity. Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll practice.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's kind of how you have to take it. I think with teaching, you have to try to not take it personally.
Oh,
And just like, it's fine. Like if a student just wants to come to hang out with you, I mean, I try to say like, we better work on this because, they're paying money for this, but it's like sometimes student just wants to be there and to be with you. Like, it's not like they're going to learn guitar, period. It's like, I'm going to learn guitar with Jordan because I like Jordan. And that's why they go to Jordan, right? Like there's a reason for it. It isn't just like throw out, okay, which guitar teacher do you want? I think it's part of the branding thing. It's part of who you are. And so I think there's like that. There's a reason you get students. It's because as much as you want to, over the time, you say you've had the same students since 2012, right? Something like that, MCC.
Yeah, 2011, yeah.
So you think like there's a reason you've had those same students. It isn't just willy-nilly, oh, it's convenience. It's like they're with you because you're you. And I think that's an important thing because then they're on like the same course. And I think it's the important thing with teaching is consistency. And I think that's huge. Like if you keep the same student, then you know who they are. There have been times in the past I've had a student who's been handed off a few times, and then it's like looking through the sheets of what one was given, and you're like, I don't know what's going on, so I guess we're starting over. So,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also, I mean, in this case right now, it's going to be an interesting time advertising the fall and see what's happening, because I know schools are changing, and with the pandemic, there's going to be some people are a little more nervous about things.
Oh, sure.
So
there's a lot of fear floating around, man. It's too bad, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, so I plan on, I'm independent now, and I'm advertising for the fall. Again, like you said, all the stuff is kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But I think that there's always going to be a number of people that are just going to do what they're going to do anyways, and yeah, that's great. So you know what? However, I don't know what the fall's going to look like. But right now, I'm advertising. My studio is green cameras.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to keep going no matter what. Even if, if you have to say worst case, you have to pull the plug, right? At least you tried to do it, right? Versus just like giving up and not bothering. And I think that's important.
Yeah, that's right.
Give kids something to look forward to too, because I don't know what their fall's going to look like for some kids. And are you offering online for lessons too?
You know what? I tried the online thing, and like I said, I can't spend very much. It's bad for my psyche. It is.
Well, and if you're also saying you're not a techie person too, it's like if something goes wrong, you're like, I'm done, and then just throw it away.
I mean, it works.
It works.
Online lessons, it works. It functions. And I think if a guy had to, I mean, you do what you have to do, and a guy would make it work. But ideally, I got to go to the studio. I got to have my own key, open up the door, go into my studio, prepare for my day, drink a coffee in my studio, check up on the wife on the phone or whatever. She'll check up on me. Oh, okay. What time's supper ready, honey? Good. That's how it's got to be for me. I can't sit at home and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's a big thing too, that's where I pretty much set up my home is now a studio instead. This whole space, like every space on the main floor is pretty much for when I open the music studio.
Oh, that's awesome. It looks really cool what you're set up. Yeah.
Well, and like I mounted a little screen up there because I'm going to have a camera that's on my foot when I'm playing drums. So if a student needs to see stuff, I have 3 cameras on the drum set for when I teach online if I do that. So I have one that'll be over my shoulder, one beside me, and then like I don't like the idea of the screen border barrier. But if, I have that idea in my head, if I'm doing in person and then all of a sudden, okay, this illness has gotten the plague, whatever people are calling it, has gotten crazy, pull the plug and everything has to be online. Like that's just probably might be how it has to be if, worst case scenario. But I do understand, like definitely I I'd rather be in person.
But yeah, I think if a guy was set up like I'm seeing your setup, it looks so good, man. Like if I was to set up a home setup like that, it might be easier to do it
Well,
that way.
advantage is I'm a single guy, so I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So it's just like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
essentially, I made the TV room a bedroom. Like, it's one of the bedrooms. That's where the TV is now. Whatever.
Yeah.
Most of my work is here. Like, the part I'm sitting in is where I record right now. There's like electric drums beside me, and like,
Oh,
yeah, it's just the whole space. I rearranged it. So I'm
that's awesome.
gonna build some sound panels probably next week. And
Oh, like baffling?
yeah, just I want to block out those two. You see the two wall light things there from the sun. I'd like to block those out, but also, yeah, just putting some, getting some acoustic wool and put them in a frame and that kind of thing. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it'll be pretty much a full, just dedicated to music back here.
That's so cool, man.
So yeah, and then for now, like in the summer, I've just been teaching out of the garage because I can get airflow and it's warm enough that it's not a big deal. So yeah.
Well, man, Stephen Hartman, that you got quite an operation going too. Like, and you're teaching this out of your house.
Yeah, I mean, I made this decision. Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to do for a while. A few months after, I didn't make the decision to go to even teach music again until like a few months ago, like a couple months. Like I think it was like about the beginning of June, but I had to wait for my contract to expire before I was going to actually start advertising. So through Martha's. So yeah, but just because I know I have the setup if I need to, I'm a nerd, so I have the gear that I've been accumulating. So like I have a mixer. If I'm reaching over here, there's a mixing board that I have all my mics and stuff plugged in for the stream.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, it's definitely, like you said, you almost have to like sit back and see what happens in some ways. You still be actively move forward, but you have to be prepared for whatever the future holds at the same time.
Yeah.
So we are getting on to low on time. So do you have anything you like? If people have questions, there are some people watching. If they have questions, now's the time to ask before we like close out. So yeah, I guess I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say before we close?
I'm just thank you very much for having me on your show, man. This is really cool. Like I love what you're doing.
Well, I just want to know about people, and I'm often too socially awkward to do it in other places where there are lots of people. So this is the easiest way to do it.
Oh, fair enough. Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. Definitely. I think I'd be. Usually, I'm just happy on my own, but I'm like that too. I'm not a super social butterfly kind of guy, so I really enjoy this.
You're
man.
forced into it by being a gigging musician, though. You just have to be with people and talk to them.
Yeah, you know what, and I always tell myself that, like, you know what, it's a privilege to be able to do what I do. So I'll thankfully talk to people if they want to talk, and yeah, it's good.
I mean, I get like it's the thing about it too is I find I don't know if this is with you, but even after teaching, like, we would at Martha's finish at 8 or whatever, get home and I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to talk to anyone. I don't want to deal with anything. I just want to eat food and chill out right now because I'm done.
Sorry, hold on a sec.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. Yeah, so very, very thankful to be doing this, and thanks. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has showed interest in guitar lessons, whether it's me or you or our friend Eric Olson, our friend Jade that teaches in town here too, yep. Jade Diggs. So it doesn't matter, anyone who's interested in music, it's a really special thing. And so everybody who I've played with through the years who's watching, thank you. Yeah, all my friends here in Camrose. It's just, yeah.
Cool. So no questions. Okay. So this will be available online for a bit. You can check the VOD out. Next week, I have a few people. I'm not going to announce it today, but you'll see next week if you go on Stephen Hartman Music on the Facebook page. You'll be able to see who's up for next week's stream. Yeah. Thanks again, Jordan, for being willing to do this. Just because
absolutely,
you're one. I think I got in touch with you when I first started doing this, and just trying to find times that would work. So.
Oh yeah, that's it's tricky to do. But
Yeah, totally. You can check out Jordan Leden. He has a Facebook page, and all this is in the description. So he has Jordan Leden Guitar Lessons. That's what the page is called, right? Yep. And then Instagram, there's the Jordan Leden. Do you have a guitar one too? A separate one?
No, that's the one I use. It's
Okay.
just the Jordan Leden, but it's linked to my Jordan Leden Guitar Lessons Facebook page.
Okay. And you apparently have a Twitter. Whatever. Nobody uses it.
I do have Twitter, but I haven't used it in years, man.
You're not missing out.
I should probably use it or delete it.
No, it's the only reason I use Twitter is to see why certain things aren't working. I'll go to the customer support on certain companies. That's it. But yeah, so you can go sign up for some guitar lessons with Jordan. And are you doing any summer stuff, or is it just for the fall?
I would love to, but right now I'm working at the Whistle Stop Golf Course.
Okay.
Cutting grass, and that's a big job. And then I'm also working construction in Edmonton, so it's just no time.
Okay, so that's fair enough. So, I mean, usually summer's the slow season for music lessons anyway. So
yeah.
You can go check his page out, sign up for lessons with him for the fall. Otherwise, I'll talk to you all later. Follow things on YouTubes and all the things. There'll be another ABCs of Music coming up, I think tomorrow, but it's been a little behind in some of that processing, so it might have to be Monday. Otherwise, I'll talk to everyone later, and that's it. See y'all.
Thanks, everybody.